How's it going, guys? It's Noir Tapes back with another video. Today I wanted to have some more practice making my own samples and flipping them. I didn't do much of the flip in this one. Like, I made the sample and I'm going to break down how I did that, but I didn't really flip it too much. I just added drums and called it a day. I could definitely chop it up. It's like that sort of sample where you could definitely get some chops out of it, but I'm just going to leave it as it is and call it a day. So if we look on the screen here, what I actually started with was the drums. I just pulled up a drum loop just to get a vibe. I picked the drums based on the vibe I was feeling at the time. I didn't do anything crazy. I didn't chop up these drums or anything. Just left them as it is. So these are the drums by themselves. And on the drum channel, I actually deleted it, but I had an EQ just to limit it to the highs because I wanted it to sound like an old drum loop. That's what I was going for. I was trying to add it in the sample. Like how sometimes when you make soul samples, you add drums in to give it that authentic like soul song feel. But I decided it actually sounds better just to use it as a whole beat. But that's okay, you know, things change as you go through the process and that's fine. But so I started with the drums, I had them filtered, and then I decided to do the piano. So I actually put up Serato sample and I just used a one-shot piano here. It sounded like this without any effects on it. And so I brought it into Serato sample because of the versatility of Serato sample. I could have used like Keyscape or something to make a piano melody while I was going through my samples that I found this one shot that I had, and I decided I'd use that. So it's just a one shot I cut out from a song and I just stored it in my own files. So all I did was I dragged the one shot into Serato sample that showed the key of the sample, and then in Serato sample I actually time stretched it a bit to make the note a bit more sustained. I added a slight filtering just to remove some of the high end, just to give it a bit of an older feel, and then I also turned it on to piano notes. That's that button right there, so I could play the sample over all these different notes. And I have the push in front of me, so I just played it. I made sure it was on poly because I wanted to do chords. This is a one shot of one particular note, so I could do chords with it. So I made sure it was on polyphonic, so you could play multiple notes at the same time. And I kept it as basically note on. I didn't want to use the sustain button that's below it. And then I started playing around with it, and I made this loop here. There's actually a bass below it. You may be thinking that's a normal bass or something. It's actually just a piano note pitched down. I was playing around with it on the push and I played with it a few octaves below, and I actually thought it sounded pretty good as a bass. So I decided to chuck it in there, give it a bit of dirt as well to use a piano note, and then I added RC20, add some more high end and vinyl noise and give it a bit of reverb and boost the bass a little bit, remove some more of the highs, make it feel like an old vinyl. And so because I had that done, it allowed me to start adding building blocks to it. So I reached in and I found a horn in my samples, and I just basically restricted the frequencies to just the high end, and I added a delay. I actually added the delay down here. Normally I wouldn't do that. I have it in my sends down in the bottom right over here. But the reason I did that was because I put all the layers in a group and I treated it as a sample. So I wanted to add some tape emulation to all the layers and make it feel like they're all coming from the same source. So I had to add the delay before it goes through the group processing. If I added the delay in the sends over here, it would have added after the fact, and so you would have had the sample before it goes through the tape plugins on the group, going through the delay, and the tape plugin effect on the actual sample itself. So you would have had two sounds that sound different trying to play at the same time. But so here's the horn I added here. I just did that to add a bit of a different groove to the sample. So it just added a different variation. So this is what it sounds like here. And then I added another layer as well. This one I got a bit fancy with. I first brought in the sample to write a sample. That's an easy way to make sure that it's in key. I just played the one note and I made sure it was sustained so the whole sample played. And then I used a Pro EQ to limit the frequencies a bit. This is the part where I got a bit like sound designy with it. So I just wanted to add a bit of reverb to push it back in the mix. And I wanted to play with the tone to see how it sounded. And then I also actually automated the output gain. So that way it starts from nothing and then sort of swells and then comes back down and repeats. So it adds this like pad sound to it. So this is what it sounds like here. Just a bit of a different layer. Still sounds like a vocal in a way. And then at any point I could just turn on the drums and hear what it sounds like with drums. I was thinking that sounds pretty good. And then one of the ways I like to get a bit inventive and creative as well, I turn it to resampling here and I turn on the recording arm, and then you literally just hit record. Make sure your drums are turned off so it doesn't record your drums, and it just records all the audio that's playing at the time. So I basically hit record and it recorded this section with the horn, this section just with the piano, and then this section with the piano and the extra layer. And I got left with this. So basically I pitched it down 3, I like the way it sounded, and then you can add the drums to do the check. And so that was sounding good. The only thing I did change at the end was I added this utility down here. I noticed, and you can see it in the waveform, it's reflected, the right side of the audio was much more prominent than the left. I think it was just because the one shot had a lot more presence in the right than the left. I don't know. When I was creating the beat, I didn't really notice it too much, but sometimes you don't notice if things are really prominent on one side compared to the other. So basically, once I printed off and I noticed that, I was like, oh shit. So I put the utility on and I singled out the left side. You can hear the piano note in the left, but it's much more quiet and muted compared to the right where it's really loud. So what I ended up doing was chucking it in mono with the utility, and then I was thinking about adding an imager to widen the stereo again. But I think it sounds okay as it is at the moment. So yeah, created that sample, and then if I want to go and chop it up, I have the ability to do that. And the benefit of creating your own samples is you know the key really easily. But yeah, there you go. That's how I like to make my samples, or at least start ideas. I still need a lot more practice with it, but playing notes with the push is really easy to create a bit of music theory. Same with the piano. But anyways, I've been rambling here for long enough. Thank you for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.